Hi, Kevin. Hi, Paul.
Winnie Cooper?
Gwendolyn. I don't want to be called Winnie anymore. My real name is Gwendolyn.
Well, there was no question now. We were entering uncharted territory.
The show immediately tackled a familiar moment to almost everyone, the first kiss.
There were 6 takes for that, the kissing scene.
Marker, come in, marker.
And they couldn't use the first one because right before we kissed, I smiled. I was just too excited. I was like, it was too much anticipation.
You know, it's very nerve-wracking. You know, I'm young. I don't think I kissed a girl before that. You know, I don't know, kissing girls. And our moms were there, and I remember at the end, like, they stand up and applauded us, you know.
Although warm and nostalgic, the episode also captured the darker side of life in the 60s, with the death of Winnie's big brother in Vietnam.
And then it happened. I think we were about halfway to the front porch.
Brian Cooper was killed.
That's what Neil and Carol said in the pilot. It was the wonder years because it was the end of them. It was the end of innocence, I think, to see that war and people dying, you know, from our backyards right on television, which is why I think it's so important that Winnie's brother died in the pilot.
What was so good about the show is it kind of had this bittersweet, melancholic texture to it.
Any doubts about the innovative format were quickly forgotten when ABC executives saw the finished pilot.
When they showed it to the head of ABC, Brandon Stoddard, and he went out on a limb for a lot of really great television shows, and he fought for that show, and he put it after the Super Bowl.
Producers Black and Marlins were stunned when they learned their show would premiere with plenty of fanfare and a big ad campaign immediately following the 1988 Super Bowl. The Wonder Years was getting a powerful, high-profile introduction, and if it didn't perform spectacularly, it would be over almost before it had begun.
Yes, but my own theory is...
You've got a tough row to hoe, young man. A tough row to hoe.
What you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me?
On January 31st, 1988, The Wonder Years made its debut on ABC, and the cast and crew held their breath.
My mom had a Super Bowl party, and we had a bunch of friends and family over, and we watched The Wonder Years afterwards, and everyone sat around, and I sat down like this.
To the delight of everyone involved, millions of viewers stayed tuned to check out the new show, and TV critics showered it with praise.
I found myself one moment laughing hysterically at Wonder Years, the next moment tearing up because it had this wonderful mixture of humor and nostalgia that I felt was so honest.
ABC immediately commissioned 5 more episodes to finish out the season. The Wonder Years had made it into the primetime lineup.
My mom and dad were shocked. I had never done a pilot before, so I just didn't know any better. You know, pilots are supposed to go serious. That's what they're supposed to do. Little did I know that very few of them actually make it to series.
The show's success meant a huge change for its star, Fred Savage. He and his siblings, Ben and Kayla, moved out to L.A. with their mother, Joanne, while their father, Lou, flew in from Chicago every weekend.
We'd never done anything like this before, you know, and I think it was just all very exciting for the whole family, for all of us, you know. I mean, it was a great thing to be a part of.
The show's producers, Carol Black and Neil Marlins, also faced big challenges. They now had to recreate 1960s suburban life on a weekly basis.
Some of the costumes and wigs and those kinds of things look absolutely preposterous now that you look back, and people say that's got to be, they look like they're going to a Halloween party.
Black and Marlins knew that just the right costumes and props were essential if the show was to strike a chord with baby boomers in the audience.
Their attention to detail was something I'd never experienced in any work I'd ever done on television. It was very costly to take that much time. I mean, literally the buttons on your sweater, the earrings you'd wear. What do you think?
Matter of fact, Allie and I would get upset because every time there was a question about something, they would look at us because we were the two old timers.
The Wonder Years was designed to make nostalgic viewers think of the show as a window on their personal pasts. So it was set in an unspecified location.
It didn't take place in, you know, Boston or Chicago or LA or San Francisco. It just took place in like any town USA. So people could project their own experiences onto it.
But the show's scripts were even more important than its setting, and Black and Marlins paid special attention to the voiceover narration.
Sex ed class, 7th grade.
Now, the female reproductive organs look like this.
Unfortunately, it looked more like a cow's head to me.
The interesting thing was that it really wasn't a voiceover. I mean, it was a great character.
When Winnie got back from her uncle's, we went for a walk in the park. Neither of us said a word about it, of course, but we both knew that the park was where you went to make out.
What he could do with those words and the twists and the comedy he could put on him, or the really deep feeling he put in, made the show in many ways what it was.
I didn't know what to do. Our first kiss had happened so naturally, I couldn't even remember how I did it. Did I breathe through my mouth or my nose? Oh, I had to make some kind of move.
There was a bug on you. Oh. Thanks.
Some move.
All the care that went into the initial casting showed in the chemistry between the actors.
So Herbie was definitely like a big brother, telling me about girls, and I was just captivated by his tales of the nightlife and all these things he'd tell me.
There's nothing stopping this kid. He's like a machine out there.
Josh and I, you know, really hit it off, and, you know, we're good friends.
We were both 11, I think, and we didn't know anybody in California. So we naturally became very close very quickly. We bonded over boy things, over Nintendo, over video games, over baseball cards.
Hi. What you doing?
Danica's an angel. She's very, very well disciplined, Danica. And so we did everything we could to shake her, but to no avail.
I do my scenes, and then we're done, and then I go back to the schoolroom. I was a big nerd. I really was.
Cameron, honey, you said you were going to come home early and help me with dinner. Peace, Mom, okay?
My relationship with Olivia was a lot like, I think, Kevin and Karen's. I was always just so in awe and kind of intimidated by it.
I felt very protective over him. I just think he's the most adorable thing on the face of the earth, and I always will.
Veteran actors Dan Lauria and Allie Mills also took the youngsters under their wings.
Dan and Allie, they weren't like authoritarian figures or you know, disciplinarians at all.
I wasn't married, I didn't have kids, and I developed this weirdly maternal relationship with him, even though he was also like one of my close friends as a little kid.
I love working with Fred. On the first day of working on the Wonder Years, they said, you know, if you could help this kid out, that'd be great. I said, yeah, sure, anything I can do. You know, I did one scene with Fred. I turned around to everybody and said, don't anybody help this kid out.
Dan taught me a lot. He would sit down and show me old movies. That was our whole relationship was built around watching old movies together and talking about old directors and old film stars and going over to his house on weekends and watching, you know, double features he'd put together for me. Cagney double features, that was his favorite, was Cagney.
But despite the harmony on the set, the producers made sure that the Wonder Years reflected the ups and downs faced by most families every day.
Kevin, Wayne, I told you to knock it off!